We have a lot on the agenda tonight, but it should go fairly quickly. One motion and then a series of appointments. We're going to start with our legislative motion. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate approves the changes to the Student Senate bylaws, Article 9, Section 8 as attached. For background on this motion, last year the Senate and Executive Board passed a resolution allowing for the formation of joint committees between the Senate and the Executive Board. What this motion does is more or less formalize the Joint Communications Committee as a more permanent structure of the Student Senate. You can find the changes outlined in front of you. We're going to keep Q on discussion. That Q is open now.
Michael?
So in here it only talks about communications, right? So is there anything going about UAR and web tech? Or is this, because I see the top, this is a point of information for us. I see the top which describes the Student Government Communications Committee as a new committee, but are we doing anything about the UAR?
Do you want to answer as the signatory?
So UAR has always been joint. It was put in the resolution to kind of group the joint committees together. Same with R&E. It will always have the board representatives. So that doesn't require a bylaw change. That's why it's not being discussed right now.
Q is open, guys.
Any other comments?
Oh, Ethan?
Can someone clarify the sort of communications the Communications Committee plans to communicate?
Go for it.
Okay, so communications, as it was structured last year, dealt with publicizing any of the initiatives of the Senate and the Executive Board. They also handled socials, which would promote interactions between the Senate and the Executive Board, so there's leadership and teamwork. And then additionally, any external communication with administration that wasn't explicitly handled by a committee chair or by the GM or the PU, that would fall under the communications as well.
All right.
Q is open. Oh, Ethan?
Sorry, one more question. What's the medium by which you're supposed to communicate this? The communications chair is supposed to communicate certain things. Like, what's the medium by which they have the right to do that? Is it press release, or can someone answer that?
Shoshana?
So the means of communication is whatever is effective. That could include social media, that could include press releases, that could include public forums, anything that would communicate how you intend to. If you wanted to communicate to a specific group, you reach out to that specific group. If you want to communicate to a large group of students, you might use multiple mediums. A lot of times we get a lot of our information out through, say, the Poly or our PIP, like they film our meetings. So those are constant things we do. Communications are also the additional things.
Q is open.
All right, any further comments, questions? Seeing none, we move to vote. Once again, the Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate approves the changes to the Student Senate bylaws, Article 9, Section 8 as attached. So moved by Shoshana, seconded by Ethan. All those in favor? All opposed? What's the number?
13.
Motion passes 13-0. This change is going to be integrated into the bylaws. The full document will be sent out to the Senate tonight and uploaded on Flagship shortly. With that, I want to move to our appointments. We have a lot of these, so bear with us if you need any refreshments. The pizza is still going around. We're going to begin with our officers, move to our committee chairs, and that should close out the meeting. So first on the list, the Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Gabe Perez to the position of Chief Information Officer, effective immediately. Gabe, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Hi everyone. So I was web tech chair last year. I had a lot of fun doing it, and there's still a lot of things that I would like to do, including fixing some of our older services like MyRPI to make them more useful for the student body, and continuing moving forward with concerto repairs and new screen installations. So if you appoint me, I will be glad to work on these projects again and help you guys out in any way possible with all things web.
And tech. All right, queue's open.
Shoshana?
In regards to my RPI, I know that students have used this in the past. Have you seen that students want to continue using it? Is that why you're looking at upgrading it?
Yep, so every day I get sent an email with a bunch of statistics on it, and usually we do have a handful of people who use it or log into their cPanel, which is where they can configure like their website on a daily basis. So yeah, it's definitely being used, and I have gotten emails before about upgrading certain scripting languages that it uses. And unfortunately, the operating system on it is so outdated that a lot of things break when I try to do this. So over the summer, I was hoping to tweak that a little bit. So yeah, there's definitely an interest. Yep.
Ethan?
Are you looking at Flagship, updating that?
Yeah, so about Flagship, there's been some alumni like contributions to that lately. So it's not really set in stone that we're going to do that because I don't know if we have the resources to tackle that right now, but it's definitely like has been considered.
Queue is open.
Any other comments? All right, seeing none, we move to vote. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Gabe Perez to the position of Chief Information Officer, effective immediately. So moved by Morgan and seconded by Marcus. All those in favor?
Okay.
All opposed? Motion passes 14-0. Next up, Parliamentarian. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Morgan Schweitzer to the position of Parliamentarian, effective immediately. So moved by Shoshana, seconded by Marcus.
Okay, I guess I'll just stand up here and speak. So my name is Morgan. I'm the Greek senator. The reason why I want to have this position is because I have an understanding of strict Robert's Rules of Order that I've been using since I was about 10 years old. I've been able to represent RPI internationally at conferences where rooms are filled with over 1,000 people by following strict Robert's Rules of Order that the discussion can go out into 10 to 12 hours of strict discussion. And so with this, I hope to bring back the knowledge and the background to facilitate conversations by making sure the queue is always flowing and that people understand the procedure to go around things.
Queue's now open. All right, no comments, no questions. Seeing none, we move to vote. All those in favor? You get that? All opposed? All right, motion passes 14-0. Next up, the Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Cody Klein to the position of Secretary, effective immediately.
All right, hi guys. I haven't met a lot of you yet, but I'm very excited to be appointed to this position, and I have had a lot of experience in the past. I was secretary and president back in high school. I do a lot with bylaws in RPI, but basically I'm really organized and good at taking notes, but I'm also a good multitasker, so I will definitely not be afraid to, speak up when I need to, but I'm happy to be here.
Queue is open.
Any questions for Cody? All right, seeing none, we move to vote. All in favor?
Michael, was your hand up? All right, thank you. Guys, raise them up.
13?
Yeah.
Okay, all opposed? All right, motion passes 13-0. Moving on, the Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Tyler Cohen to the position of Senate Executive Board Liaison, effective immediately. Before you speak, Tyler, a little background. The Senate appoints one representative to the Executive Board. This representative is known as the Senate E-Board Liaison and sits on both bodies. This representative also chairs the Union Annual Report Committee. All right?
Alrighty. Well, I worked on the UAR this year, and there are a lot of changes that I thought could have been made to it. Like, for instance, the entire fall semester, we didn't really do anything. We kind of just hypothesized about what we would do the second semester, and even the infographic kind of just fell apart to nothing, which I thought was a shame. And so, if appointed, I'd really like to make sure there's actual projects to go forward during the fall semester. You know, like perhaps posters or something, just to like basically advertise to the rest of the student body what it is we do. Relevant experience of mine includes being able to be at Allen Medical for a couple of years back in high school. I was also the treasurer, president of a National Art Society in high school for 2 years, and working on an UAR for this year.
Any questions, guys? Does everyone here know what the UAR is, what that committee does? All right, so the Union Annual Report Committee compiles the Union Annual Report, which basically details the activity fee for the next fiscal year. It's a document that's meant to be public so students can view a rough overview of the budgeting and the budget of the union itself. So the UAR is a very big responsibility. I can safely say I'm confident that Tyler will handle this well in his appointment. Any other comments, guys?
I'm not sure about
Dan.
Dan,
Mhm.
sorry.
What bodies are they voting groups of, and what bodies is he not a voting member?
He votes on the executive board. Because he's not a Senate, he doesn't gain voting rights on the Senate. Because he's not a senator, rather.
All right. Mike?
That was my question.
Okay.
Mhm. Anything else? All right, seeing none, we move to vote. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Tyler Cohen to the position of Senate Executive Board Liaison, effective immediately. All in favor?
Okay.
13. All opposed? Motion passes 13-0. Okay, so next we have Treasurer. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Robert Dye to the position of a Treasurer, effective immediately.
Hey, first off, I'd like to say thanks to Kyle. I met with him a week or two ago, and I learned more about the responsibilities I hold as treasurer as well as student senate as a whole. And you can read from my bio, I have a lot of treasurer experience. I am the treasurer of my fraternity, and it has one of the largest operating budget in all of RPI in terms of fraternities. And I think I can do well. I can participate, and I just look forward to working with Senate.
Queue's open.
Michael?
So like this year we changed it from like specific committees having like specific budgets to like we all have a lump sum now. So like I was wondering what you were thinking of doing moving forward with the budget.
Well, so from what Kyle told me, I believe it was you guys don't have separate budgets,
Yeah.
but you can still take account as to who spends what. And it's all, in my opinion, a matter of bookkeeping, knowing what money goes where. You can use it as future reference.
But like what do you
Oh, Michael.
what do you want to do like so next year you have to make a budget for next year's Senate. Like what do you plan to do with it?
We'll give him like a bookkeep, and we'll see who uses what budget. Yeah.
Ethan?
I'm sorry, how much money does the Senate have in treasury?
Michael?
So we have, I was the treasurer last semester, so we had like $6,000 total. Most of it goes towards hockey line and R&E and stuff. This year we allocated, I think, $500 to the committees in general. So we have, for this year, all the committees have $500, not each, but combined.
Queue is open.
Any other comments? All right, seeing none, we move to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 13-0. Okay. So the next motion would be for our vice chair appointment. However, Tina's in class. She's going to be in class till 7. The meeting might get out before then, but in the hope that she makes it here, we're going to hold off on this until the end of our appointments. So moving on from here, we're going to begin with committee chair appointments. To give a little background for the new people in the room, a lot of the Senate's project work, most of our project work, goes through our different committees. We have standing committees in various focus areas, and the chairs of these committees are going to be leading groups of senators and non-senators alike, students who care about their focus area and want to contribute and work on that focus area. So each of these people is going to be a leader in their respective field, and I want you to keep that in mind as they're brought up for a vote. So, the Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Marcus Flowers to the position of Academic Affairs Committee Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Shoshana, seconded by Morgan.
Hi, this is the part where I give my little spiel. My name is Marcus Flowers, you see. I am a senator for the class of 2016. I spent the last year on Senate, and for part of that year, I was the vice chair of the Academic Affairs Committee. And on top of that, I was also appointed as the undergraduate representative towards the Faculty Senate Curriculum Committee. And so doing both of those, I got to work with a lot of the faculty, the professors that you have every day in class. I was already communicating with my professors on a regular basis before this. And so then getting the chance to communicate with them about their classwork and about what they want to see from students, about what students want to see from them. I enjoyed that, and I look forward to doing it more in the future. And I think that one of the things I really want to keep in mind while doing this is that even though we do Senate, we do all of our other extracurricular activities, we all live different lives, we're all students at the end of the day. So I want to focus on building support systems for students. So in that way, by improving their academic life, we can improve their lives as a whole, giving them more freedom and liberties with whatever they want to do with their time. That's about all I gotta say.
All right, queue's open.
Ethan?
So what are your major goals as academic chair? What do you want to accomplish? What are your particular commitments you want to make? Try to see it change by the end of your session.
One of the particular goals, as I said, I want to develop a system that better supports students in their classes. And I know we have plenty of good systems, especially with ALAC. I want to expand ALAC to perhaps include more things, because I know that for common courses that are large, or for the first 2 years of your college experience, there is plenty of support. There's support for chemistry, there's support for your math classes, and the like, but I do see that there sometimes is a gap when you come to higher level courses. So I want to expand the support for those classes, and on top of that, I want to make sure that as the Academic Affairs Committee goes about its projects, that it gets more of a perspective on all student walks of life instead of just whatever majors or fields of study that happen to be on the committee. So I want to develop an integrated system to make sure that we have a stronger opinion than simply doing surveys to the student body.
Queue is open.
All right, any further comments? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Marcus Flowers to the position of Academic Affairs Committee Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Shoshana, seconded by Morgan. All those in favor? All opposed? Is that an opposition, or did you leave that up, Paul?
He just left it up.
All right, cool. Motion passes 13-0. Okay. We have two here that didn't get seconded. Do you care to take care of that real quick? Here you go. While those two are being taken care of, the Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Alexandra Rindoni to the position of Student Life Committee Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Shoshana, seconded by Morgan. Would you like to speak?
Hi, everybody. I actually go by Lexi. Alexandra's my first name, or full name. But anyways, I started getting experience on the Senate when Kyle recruited me to the Student Life Committee, and in that committee, I served as the Health Service Subcommittee Leader. So specific projects that we worked on were a proposal for on-campus prescription delivery, a flat rate taxi proposal, and also establishing a health center email newsletter. And if I was appointed SLC chair, I'd really like to see the flat rate taxi proposal and the on-campus prescription delivery go to completion. And I'd also like to introduce projects to expand the counseling services, especially their scheduling through the online portal system, as well as establishing some areas on how we can improve res life. So I'm really passionate about student life. I'm a biomedical engineer, so I hope to improve life quality in general as my career. So I'd hope to start that here at Rensselaer. Any questions?
Queue's open. All right, seeing none, we move to vote. All in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes 13-0. Okay, so next, going back to those two which have now been signed, the Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Michael Hahn to the position of Facilities and Services Committee Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Marcus and seconded by Lexi.
My name's Michael. I'm a senator for the class of 2016. I also served as vice chair for the Facilities and Services Committee last year. We worked on car sharing. We worked on getting half dozen eggs from your fathers, vending machines in the library, picnic tables. Let's see, a lot of different projects. So we're looking to continue those. Some of the projects we want to work on next semester, one that Shoshana was really passionate about, the water fountains. All over campus, we want to put the ones that can actually fill water bottles. We need to continue car sharing. We finished the proposal, but we need to follow up with administration. Quad renovations, RAPS renovations. That's about it.
All right, queue's open.
Mike?
So, since you're the one that about campus, you did a table last year. Did that go through?
We sent the stuff to Alex Silva. So he said, okay, and we're waiting on we need to follow through essentially. He said he received it and he said all this looks great, but now we have to figure out how it's going to
Ethan?
I'm really curious, what are the biggest issues you see on campus as facilities and services?
So I think the hard part with facilities and services is I think a lot of people like to complain about a lot of different things. So the challenge is sifting out what can actually be done and what isn't just kind of stuff that people have to deal with. So stuff like Sodexo, I think we can send suggestions to. That's why we're going to start the Sodexo focus group, so that specifically is focused on reaching out to students, sending them feedback, and it's going to be kind of like a board of students that operates within facilities and services and sends them feedback. We also have the green, I forget what it's called, but there's another subcommittee that we're going to have. Let's see, some of the big challenges. I mean, besides that, the main thing that people are concerned about right now are the state of the lighting, which we do a light walk every semester or every year at the beginning of every year to assess the status of the different lights, the different sidewalks around campus, and then we send that information to public safety. Besides that, mostly Sodexo.
Okay. Lexi?
I was just curious, what do you think about the car share? I know that somebody asked the status, but how do you plan on pushing that to try to get it implemented? Because a lot of people.
So right now, we made the proposal, we gathered all the information that we could, and then we sent it to the administration. Right now, what we're doing is waiting on the administration to make a decision on it. Once they make a decision, we're going to kind of help them publicize it. We're going to help them, continue working with the different companies that are going to submit bids. So that's our job as far as that goes. The companies submit bids to work or operate at RPI, and then the administration makes the call. So we're just going to help with that process essentially.
And what if the administration just completely rejects the proposal again? Do you have any plans?
If they reject the proposal, then we can't really do anything about it besides submit a better proposal. But we'll see that when it happens.
Shoshana?
So last year, the equivalent of this committee worked on classroom assessments. Again, similar scenario with car sharing. A lot of hard work was done, a lot of manpower went into that. That got sent to the administration, and then nothing happened. There was no follow-up, there was no, okay, let's compromise, there was no plan to move forward. How do you make sure that whatever projects you do work on, you do follow up, you do make sure that some progress is made?
I think the important part is actually doing the following up. You know, like a lot of us last year we did a pretty good job, but the year before I wasn't on FFA, so I don't exactly know how the classroom assessments worked. I know that they asked like all of us in the Senate to do that, and then like we kind of just sent them the information and said, okay, can you do something about this? And then it was more of a, this is what's wrong, and this is what we need to do, instead of, we've looked at all the different things that are going on. These are the kinds of things that you might be able to do. Like, we need to come up with more of a plan than just say, this is what's wrong, you guys need to fix this. Instead, we need to do more like, this is what's wrong, this is how we want you to fix it, but if you don't want to do this, these are the different ways you can fix it. That's what I would say. Instead of just like giving them the problem, you know, handing off the problem.
Okay. Mike?
Similar to Shosh. The light walk every year, it was a couple hours.
Yep.
Does anything actually get accomplished out of that, or just what's
So I believe Tina would probably be if she was here. I believe some of the lights were repaired because some of them were like really dim. So we like, it's mainly just so that they are aware, because they can't always be like walking around at night, figuring out what lights are out, what is broken, stuff like that. So I believe they were fixed, but I'm not for sure.
When the sidewalks on 13th?
As far as the sidewalks go, some of that is not RPI property, so like we can't tell the administration to do anything about that. But we also send it to Troy Police and I think the mayor's office. I don't know if we do actually.
Yeah, City of Troy is usually contacted.
Okay, Ethan?
2 questions. First one is the light walk, does that cover union lights? And part B, second question I have is, for facilities, do you look at fixing fix? I know a lot of people have problems with the way that service is handled on campus.
Okay, the first one, the light walk covers, so last year we made like 8 different routes, sent senators out like all across the campus, so that includes like all the way up to ECAB, including the union, down to like Lippman, let's see, down 15, all the different areas. So yes, it does cover the union lights. Second was about fix. I don't really know too much about. I know fix, like when you call them, like it's kind of sometimes hard to like get in contact with them. But it's not something I've thought about yet, so I'll take it into consideration.
Queue is open. Mike?
Do you have plans on changing the acronym again this year?
I don't think so. No. Yeah, we'll go back to that. Yes.
Queue is open. Paul?
What does FFA stand for? Ooh, that's a good question. I forget exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, it was Facilities, Finance, and Advancement.
Queue is open. Ethan?
Sorry, but I'm just following up. Why are there so many lights out in the union?
Why are so many of the lights out on the union?
In the union, yeah. If that was a light walk.
I don't work in the union, so I wouldn't know.
I mean, if there was a light walk and you went around here, why didn't?
Are you talking about inside the union?
Yeah, inside the. Oh, it's only you don't.
Let's limit the back and forth.
What we do for the light walk is after the Senate meeting, like at 8 o'clock, once it's dark out, we walk around campus in the different areas outside and see which of the lights are out, which of the lights are too dim, which of the sidewalks are unsafe to walk on, stuff like that. And we write all that information down and send it to administration.
Okay. Alex?
I'm not sure if this is quite relevant, but would that be something that you might also be looking to expand towards indoors as well in certain scenarios?
I guess we could do that indoors, but like, so the purpose of the light walk is to go outside. I guess we can do something that also goes inside, but that would have to be a totally separate thing because we don't have enough time in the day to do that in each one. We have to go to all the buildings and stuff.
Yeah. Paul?
Just to go off what Michael said, sort of with light walk, we just were divided into different groups which had different routes, which were frequently taken by students to different, like fraternity or sorority houses or off-campus housing or places where students tend to go rather than someone frequently like walking out the tunnels and back. And we just sort of had notes with us or took notes on our phones of where there were problems and what the for specific bulbs, or if like sort of you wrote down like the lamppost number and what street it was on. And also I tested for crippleability since I was on crutches. It was a fun time.
Shoshana?
My question was, for the light walk, what collaborations will you try to set up with Troy PD and PubSafe and the City of Troy?
So last year, we talked to Troy PD we told them that we were doing it, we told the pub safety people that we were doing it. I believe like one public safety officer went with a group or something, but I think we need to expand that. Just so that we can go deeper into Troy if we need to. Not as far as like the bridge, but like probably a little bit more towards where like people are living, so like down to some of the houses in that area where lighting is they kind of lighting, so probably getting more people to join with us.
Ethan?
I'm sorry, I don't want to belabor this, but I'd like to point your attention to this room and how many lights are out here. Is there anything we can do for the union to fix the lighting here? I think there must be at least 10 lights in this room.
We can tell the union, and then they can fix it.
I mean, maybe this.
Yeah. So, I mean, what can we do about these lights? Like, we can tell the union people that work in the union, to the maintenance people, and tell them to fix it, or tell them those lights aren't working. But they're probably not going to do much about it since it's well illuminated anyway.
Call the question.
Yeah.
So
It's like.
Once you're up.
Oh.
Sure. Ethan?
So this would be a fix issue then?
I don't think so, because it's, I don't know exactly how fix
And you put me
operates.
right before.
So I don't know if it's specifically with the that's installed or not.
Kyle?
I just want to point out we have the director of the union, Joe Cassidy, right here. Joe works in the admin office with a lot of the professional staff who partner with Union Executive Board and other operations of the union, and can deal with things like this. So it's very easy to talk to our union staff because we have one right here, and consider the point made. So
Okay.
let's
I call
continue.
the question.
All right, the question has been called. All those in favor?
Okay. I think I counted right.
Okay. Yes, call the question passes 11-0.
Wait,
Well,
no.
I didn't say that, did I? Wow, all those opposed. Okay. Call the question passes 11-1. So we're going to vote on the motion. I silenced the opposition, you know. No. So the Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Michael Hahn to the position of Facilities and Services Committee Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Marcus and seconded by Lexi. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion passes 12-0. All right, next up, the Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Gavin Noritsky to the position of Senate Communications Committee Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Marcus and seconded by Morgan.
Hi, my name is Gavin Rinsky. I apologize first off if you don't see a bio under my name. It was a stressful day after I found out I got appointed to this position. Thank you. I didn't have time. It was all my final presentations were due today and exams. So anyway, a little bit about myself. I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'm studying nuclear mechanical engineering. I'm a sophomore this year. Background experience: senior year in high school, I was senior class president, National Honor Society president, and Triad Music Honor Society president. My first year, I got involved into fraternity Greek Light, Red and White Student Organization, of which now I hold the position of Vice President for Membership. And this year, I've just been re-elected to President of my fraternity for the fall semester. So I'm used to working with large groups of people, diverse, seeing what they want to get out of their experience, and just being able to communicate with them. So with this position in Senate, while running for Grand Marshal, I ran this past semester, talking to different organizations, how much they know about Senate, the different programs that they provide, the committees, what they can do for them. That's why I want to advocate, because I saw that there was a gap, and I feel like I can truly fill that, because making those connections to those different houses, those different organizations, those clubs, those groups of students here in the union who are just working. we can work on that. So my plan is beginning of the year, just starting off with some kind of small survey, seeing how students are, how their summer was, if they're a first year student, what they want to get out of their time here, but also what they know about Senate, what they want to have help with, and how we can communicate our events better, if it's through different social media platforms like Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, or are they reading the poly and maybe working with the poly as well. Dan's still here. Working with the poly to see how we can better advocate the news within there and making sure that the connection between executive board and Senate is strong with the events that they want to do. So I'm open to questions, and I hope that wasn't just a ramble. All right?
You're good. Queue's now open.
Shoshana?
Gavin, can you speak a little about some of your more specific ideas for communications this year?
Yeah, so I want to look past to the events that happened this past year to see what the Student Senate held, or if it was a joint, and how attendance was based on that, and how we advocated for that event to students to see if that was the best route forward. And then basing off of what I see there, how we can do things differently in the future. And also connecting with other schools to see what they do with their Senate to communicate the events that they do. I have close connections with friends at larger universities and smaller ones too who are on Senate there. And I just want to see what they do differently at their school and how we can provide it here at Rensselaer. Yeah.
Michael? Yes.
Oh, okay.
Michael.
So I know Kyle this year wants to make like communities do their own public media or social media outreach and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I talked to him about like having like a centralized way that we can like coordinate the different, like how do you plan on coordinating the different public outreach?
So hopefully people join the committee, and then from there we can have representatives go to the other ones. So they have a strong bond, they know who to be talking to, the community chair, the different people in that organization, so that there's no gaps in communication. And also through Red and White, we are always big with image, with the different communities that we have there. And I feel like it's something that we can bring to Senate as well. Maybe it's not just a logo, but a mission, why they do what they do on the website, making it a little bit more clear for students of what this committee actually does and their goals for the year. So make sure those gaps aren't occurring.
Mike? Yeah.
So being a chair is a decent time commitment.
Yeah.
How much of a time commitment is being president of that?
So this past semester was very tough. We were going through a lot of internal changes. Over the summer, I'm looking to get a lot of those changes out of the way. The biggest commitment this past semester was officer transitions, working on handbooks and creating an alumni advisory board for my fraternity. So over the summer, that's all going to be completed. So once we come into the fall semester, as long as the officers know what they need to do, it's just overseeing that everything's going well. So president, they have 3 meetings throughout the week, executive board, meetings with different officers, and then a house meeting. So that's a total of 3 hours. And then small throughout when we meet with them. Honestly, it's not that much, as long as you know what needs to get done and it's working smoothly. This past semester was a little bit tougher, but when I was running for Grand Marshal, taking 21 credits, president of my fraternity, VP of that Red and White organization, I was getting enough sleep. So this upcoming fall semester, taking less credits, I have president and this. So I'm looking forward to it.
Ethan?
So you mentioned your Grand Marshal run.
Yeah.
I seem to remember you engaged a lot with social media during that run, their campaign, particularly in Reddit.
Yeah.
I remember that really closely. Do you plan to use the same sort of tactics to do communications chair?
So I felt like Facebook really worked well. The Reddit, on the other hand, I never used Reddit before, so it was my first time saying like, hey, MAA, and then I didn't notice that you really do have to keep up with that. So that was a tough part on my hand, because I never used it. So hopefully within my committee I can find someone who's a little bit stronger with Reddit that can work with me to learn more capabilities there. But I see that just viewing it throughout the week, there's a lot of sign-up posts on there, which is great. A lot of news, a lot of students do use it. So I feel like that's a great social media outlet.
Shoshana?
Ethan kind of beat me to the punch, but
Yeah.
how often do you personally use social media and to what extent?
Facebook and Twitter heavily. So let's see, I run the Twitter account for my fraternity, and for red and white. So I'm used to running Twitter accounts for different organizations, trying to post the events for there. Red and white's been a little bit slower because we've been trying to change some of the tactics of our social media outlets, but Pikes has been going well. So I'm used to Twitter and social media. I want to maybe bring some different aspects to it. Maybe some kind of photo gallery like Tumblr. I'm going to look into it. But like I said, Reddit, that's something I'm trying to look at more. It's something I used to, yeah. But I like it. It just takes some time.
Lexi?
I think you talked about this a little bit, but what's your plan on communicating between the other committees? Because I think the biggest success out of like Reddit was, you know, my experience in Student Life Committee is like communicating the actual projects, and I feel like communications can help out a lot with that. So how do you plan on like interacting with the other committees specifically?
So just keeping up with them, honestly. So having that representative from our committee going to your meetings, or at least having some kind of flow of information between the two, whatever works best for that chair, so that on a weekly basis or daily basis maybe, knowing that the projects that you're working on, the success of them, how you're getting that closer to completing them, keeping the students informed as well. So maybe that they can get more involved, join that meeting, join that informal session, informational session, and it'll help them just understand what Senate does for them. So.
Okay, queue's now open.
Any other comments for Gavin? All right, seeing none, we move to vote. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Gavin Noritsky to the position of Senate Communications Committee Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Marcus, seconded by Morgan. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 14-0. Okay, moving on, we're nearing the end here. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Melanie Totis to the position of Rules and Elections Committee Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Shoshana, seconded by Marcus.
Okay, hi, I'm Melanie Totis. I'm a 2017 senator, and I was the vice chair of R&E this past year. And so I know how to print ballots, count ballots, run poll sites, and so I have a lot of plans actually coming up this year, because this past year we used the Scantron, which is really slow. So I would want to implement a project to get an electronic voting system this year, and then maybe make a handbook on referendum rules with, regarding posters and signs. So, yeah, and I am one of the few people who can stay up till late in the morning counting ballots and not go crazy. So yeah,
All right, queue's open.
So electronic voting has been for a lot of years. There's been a lot of difficulties with it.
Right.
What do you see as your approach? How do you feel that you could make it happen when a lot of chairs in the past couldn't?
Well, I don't think anyone has ever gone to eBoard before and just asked if we could buy one. So I'm gonna do that. And if that doesn't work out, I know we went to our post last semester and that didn't work out, but I'm gonna see if I could do that again and get some people to work on the project and see if they can do it.
Okay. Marcus?
Unfortunately, Shoshana stole my question, so I'm going to say you look a little scarred from staying up till 8 a.m. counting ballots, but otherwise you came out pretty okay.
Michael?
What were the specific duties as vice chair of R&E? How does that translate to chair of R&E?
It didn't really, just kind of whatever the chair needed me to do. And so I think, I was the one, I think it was just Tim and I who knew how to do the printing, and then John also, but he's not here anymore. But we have the printing, and we have to do the one, it's really annoying. But yeah, so I knew how to do that, and then I knew how to set up for the poll sites, so you have to organize all the ballots into different folders and everything. So I had to set up the night before, and then wake up really early to set up the poll site.
Paul?
Yeah, we had heard that there were some issues when sort of the scan on like the code or something with reading the ballots. So would that potentially be like an issue if you have sort of something?
Well, there's a person on the committee right now who like can read code, and these actually aren't they changing it so that
Yeah, it's not a problem.
yeah.
Mike?
So besides poster and scan channel and everything, did anything else happen last year that will call a change this year? Did you learn anything?
Yeah, so I was thinking about making a video on how to poll site because it was actually suggested to me. Should you suggest that to me, right? Yeah. So because we'd be in the middle of posting and there'd be a huge rush, and then someone new, like a new volunteer, would come and be like, "What do I do?" And we'd be like throwing ballots everywhere, and like we didn't have time to like tell someone how to do it. So I was thinking about doing that. So.
Marcus?
I remembered last year that with some of the ballots, I don't know how much this actually affected the number of readable ballots. With bent ballots, do you plan on designing a new system for holding the ballots that have been filled out by students, and that way they don't get as crinkled?
Oh, like the boxes?
Do you plan on getting a new box?
Yeah. Yeah, new boxes. They're necessary.
Queue's open.
Anything else? All right.
Alex?
What is your personal policy, I guess, with making sure that the rules and regulations of the rules and elections get followed, and then any issues that arise get seen through with?
Well, so actually this year with like the posterage problem, that was actually brought to us first by RPI TV, and so we had to have a meeting and deal with like what we were supposed to do about it, and we eventually deferred it to J Board, but we take it pretty seriously because we want to have a really fair election, and so I took it really seriously. So.
Queue's open. Ethan?
Do you plan to run for GM? Okay.
Queue's open.
All right. No further questions? I'm going to reread the motion. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Melanie Totis to the position of Rules and Elections Committee Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Shoshana, seconded by Marcus. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 12-0. All right, so next up we have GM Week. A little background for our new members once again. The GM Week celebrations are put on every year by a dedicated committee that's formed as a subcommittee of rules and elections. This committee is appointed directly. They operate fairly independent, and it's a huge time sink. Our appointee this evening has been recommended by the previous GM Week chair, so without further ado, the Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Daniel Lockheim to the position of GM Week Committee Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Shoshana, seconded by Marcus.
Hello, I'm Daniel Lockheim. Just a little bit of background on me. I don't know if my bio made it to you.
You got it.
Oh, okay. So I'm a junior industrial engineer. Right when I came to RPI, I joined the Ren White Student Organization. I've been with them for every one of my semesters except the very first. So tradition here at RPI is one of my passions. I'm a tour guide for prospective students when they need additional hands. I give tours to alumni, communicate with them about what they used to do here, what we do here now, and sharing those stories. So traditions are really important to me, and GM Week being probably one of our oldest and most well-treasured traditions here at RPI, it would really be an honor to take that torch and continue it on and make it as memorable and as fun as it can be next year. So that's really the plan, and I think I have what it takes to get that done.
Queue's open.
Shoshana?
What have you done with June?
This past year, I was the treasurer, so I was in charge of making sure money went where it needed to go, making sure people weren't overspending on certain things, as well as when I had off time, I worked with our events to plan different events that happened this year, and that was kind of my purpose.
Okay, Mike?
Since June week's like a year away, when do you start planning for it?
Planning starts right at the beginning of fall semester, so after the activities fair, and we get a little bit of recruitment done. We bring everybody together, we assign people to positions, and we get planning right away.
Ethan?
Yes, I have a question. I remember last June week, I remember some organizational issues that occurred, particularly.
Last year's or this year's?
This most current. The
one that just happened.
The previous June week, yeah.
Okay.
There were some real organizational problems that happened, if I remember, particularly regarding clubs being represented well and figuring out who goes where and all that stuff. Do you plan to address those issues?
Yeah, definitely. One of the issues that we tend to face is communication with clubs. That is one of my points that I hope to fix, and that's just a matter of personally communicating with every one of those clubs that want to participate in the week, because usually how it's worked in the past, there's a form that's way out of date and needs to be updated, and that's usually just sent out by email, and we expect clubs to send that back. So that's something that obviously doesn't work and needs to be fixed. So as for getting clubs involved, I think that's something that will be pretty easy to fix, just better communication with them, personally going to their meetings, making sure they know what's happening. As for communication and getting set up, I personally didn't hear any problems with getting people set up. I think the biggest day would have been having clubs on Wednesday when we were in the Armory. The biggest issue, I think, was we had to move location pretty much right at the end because they didn't think we would be able to be on the VCC quad, which obviously we weren't. So people weren't 100% sure what was going on. So I think another thing myself and the previous chair talked about was probably having an information session before the week starts, getting all the clubs there, and just making sure they have all the information they need.
Marcus?
That's right. This year there were complaints about the number of mugs. Do you plan on using this year's data to estimate the number of mugs?
We always do our best. The thing was we had record turnout this year, which is always, it was pretty unprecedented. I think we had 59, it's great. I think we had 59%, I don't know if somebody can, 59% of the student body turnout when we usually have under 50. So we usually aim for that 50% mark. Obviously, we fell a bit short, I think, by a few hundred mugs. So we do plan on trying to do our best to meet that number. We probably will expect high turnout. I don't know if we'll go all the way up to that 60% mark. That's something that has to be determined. The one thing is we won't be having the same size mugs if we are going to be increasing the number, because they are exorbitantly more expensive than other mugs. Yeah, sadly, the idea of the mugs growing every single year is not going to be happening, so we probably will be cutting back on the size at least.
You don't have to increase the number of mugs.
Guys, limit the side chatter. Mason's on the key.
Okay. Gavin?
In your own personal opinion, what was one great thing about this past CME, and what was one thing that you would not consider next year?
I think one thing that I wouldn't like to occur is probably to be at the union again. I think most students, we got over 100 replies back from students, which is more than we've gotten back in some surveys, and people thought it was a little too crowded here. They didn't know exactly what was going on. It's a little out of the way, because even if you're living on Freshman Hill, usually you don't turn left off the bridge and come to the union, you just walk straight home. So it is a little bit out of the way, and I think that was really upsetting, especially for a lot of the events we have. Like for debates, we didn't have huge turnout for people going to there. The feast, I think, was really great, as it's just free food. I'd like to have something a little more grand and maybe even more themey than a grand Viking feast for next year. There are some plans for some bigger things to come. Does that kind of answer your question? Yeah.
Mason?
As a freshman, this is my first GM week, and I feel like a lot of the freshmen weren't really informed about what was going on. And I know at least friends of mine and myself, the only way that we knew stuff was going on was just saw that there was a huge crowd at the union. And we're like, oh, there's a lot of people over there, and then we'd walk over. We didn't hear about things in advance, or we didn't know we'd get T-shirts at the primaries and stuff like that. And I feel like there wasn't much communication, in terms of reaching out to us.
Okay.
And maybe there was, and we just missed it. But do you have any plans in terms of increasing how you communicate with the students about GM Week and trying to keep us informed about what's going on?
Yes. So one of the things we did advertising well in advance. A lot of students did know about it. It's good to hear that freshmen weren't, though, because I feel like freshmen are a little bit more. There's a bubble at college, and then there's an even smaller bubble. Freshmen are kind of stuck in there the first year, still trying to figure out what's going on. That sounds like it might have been a failure social media-wise, because I know I was spreading news to my class when things were happening. We had a GM Week page, so maybe getting more people to follow the page, making sure that we have people from every year. I think we had one freshman on our committee, and so it's a matter of communicating to them on social media, as well as, I guess, just doing better advertising around campus. But that's good to know. We'll go post on Freshman Hill.
Lexi?
I think my question's been answered.
All right. The queue is now open.
What's your understanding in terms of what student is responsible for setting the date and time for election results?
So I believe that's all really up to rules and elections, like when they can get that stuff finished. I know that we have expectations because we like to get the results to the students at the biggest event, which is usually the finale. One thing we would like to, if we can possibly assist you in some way to get that electronic voting through, because it's really important to us to make sure we have results for all of the students as soon as we possibly can.
So at what point does the GM committee ask R&E for the date and time for election results?
I think it was pretty consistent. I remember Ibby kind of hounding them a lot to try to get those results. So as soon as possible. And
my question is, when would your committee ask GM Week for when you should, if they're responsible for scheduling,
right,
making a determination of when it would happen, when does your committee ask them for when that will occur?
I suppose it would be, I don't know if I'm misunderstanding the question. Obviously I am, but
But my observation is the last few years, the challenge has been that the GM Week has publicized the date and time before R&E is known about it.
Oh, okay. Okay, now, okay. I don't think that will be an issue. I know that we would like to have it when we want it, but that's really not up to us. Okay. So it's just whenever they're done is when we can deliver. I don't remember. I guess it was, maybe advertised unofficially. I don't remember it being advertised officially this year. Just that to expect them at a certain time, and obviously that didn't happen this past year. So we'll just ask until they're ready.
Okay, the queue's open. Mike?
How is the GM Week committee formed?
How is it formed?
Just volunteers?
Yeah, it's all volunteers. I appoint all of the executive positions within the committee. So usually that consists of members who have been on the committee prior, or if there is interest from somebody and I find them competent enough to take on that position. So that's just heading up who's going to be in charge of planning events, logistics, as well as advertising and all that stuff. So yeah, it's all volunteer basis.
Okay, Mike?
Do you strive to get someone from each class year to?
Yeah, we definitely do. We try to recruit as well as we can. Usually the big push is at the activities fair, and as successful as that can be, I think there are other ways to advertise and try to get people to show up. I know at the end of our surveys, we asked if anybody wanted to join and was interested. We got a few responses from them. As for getting freshmen involved, that's really, I think, mostly at the activities fair. So maybe finding a better way to get to them and really want them to join it. So just making sure that they're aware of what GM Week is and to be excited to want to work on something that big.
Okay. Mike?
On the same point, how many graduate students were on the committee last year?
How many regular? Graduate students? I believe 0. That is something I talked with Ibby about through our meeting to plan a little bit of next year. Is potentially going to the graduate council, trying to talk to them about maybe getting some people involved, talking to the graduate students. Because as much as we can do, I think it's better if it comes from their mouth than from ours. But they are here, they are students, they should enjoy the same experiences that we do, and I see no reason why we shouldn't have graduates on the committee.
All right, the queue's open.
Any other comments, guys? Okay, seeing none, we move to vote. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Daniel Lockheim to the position of GM Week Committee Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Shoshana, seconded by Marcus. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 12-0. Okay, we have one final motion. Seeing as Tina is not here yet, we're going to move forward with this. I can field any questions that would be addressed to her. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Christina Gilliland to the position of Vice Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Shoshana, seconded by Marcus. Queue's open.
Tina, what's your favorite color?
Raspberry.
Is it raspberry? Raspberry, okay.
Not Rensselaer Red?
What the heck is raspberry?
Point of clarification.
I think it's something like this, maybe. I don't know. But all right, anyways, any relevant questions, guys?
Being someone who doesn't know Tina, can you give me a little bit of background because she doesn't have anything in that?
Mm-hmm. Currently, Tina is, in my opinion, the most experienced person on the Senate. She's been a senator since freshman elections, mine and hers freshman year. She's been chair of the Communications Committee for 2 years and the Facilities and Services Committee for 1. And in that time, she's gotten a lot done. She's worked on extensive social events, leadership events, and communication events, both among and outside the Senate. And in facilities, she really led the Senate's push last year for the car sharing proposal. For those of you who aren't familiar, this was a proposal to bring a car share service such as Zipcar or Enterprise to the RPI campus. It's a massive effort, one that took an entire dedicated committee's focus, and she led that effort. She had, through her experience, she was able to kind of push it to a stage where right now it's under serious administrative consideration. So with Tina as a vice chair, Tina and I will be working together to bring the new committee chairs, because each of these appointed committee chairs has never chaired a Senate committee before. We're going to be working together to bring these people up to speed, and I think that having her at my right hand, there's no one I'd rather have. She's going to be an excellent counterbalance to my big ideas. She's going to help me help the cabinet as we move forward to make sure that the Senate goes in a productive direction and we hit the ground running and have a great year.
Okay, the queue's open.
No one else? All right, we're going to move to vote. The Rensselaer Union 45th Student Senate confirms the Grand Marshal's appointment of Christina Gilliland to the position of Vice Chair, effective immediately. So moved by Shoshana, seconded by Marcus. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 11-1. Okay, that's all our motions for the evening. A few final points. In talking with the Dean of Students, I've been made aware of some upcoming student handbook revisions that we're going to be facing in the fall related to sexual assault and response policy as well as Good Samaritan policy. Once these come up, they're going to be dealt with through the Student Life Committee. So I'm going to be talking with Lexi about this, and anyone who's interested in getting involved should get in touch with her. We're going to be doing a Senate leadership training retreat early next fall. Typically, this is an event that's held within the first week that the Senate's back. I and Tina and possibly Erin as well are going to be communicating with Linda, the head of the Archer Center, to set this up. As soon as we've settled on a date, this will be sent out to the rest of the Senate. So you guys will be informed fairly shortly. Last, our final meeting time for the fall 2014 semester. I sent out this when is good mid-last week. I'm still waiting on some responses, and to all our new appointees, I'm going to be sending this survey as well. Try to get these in within the next few days so I can reserve a room with the union. When we get back, we'll have this room set all year. So that's all on my report. We're going to move on to committee reports. Graduate Council?
Me, right?
Yeah.
So we had elections last week. So thanks to give the results. Kristen Lee is president. She's not here today. Vice president is Michaela. That's me. So I'm not speaking. Treasurer is Nick Thompson, and secretary is Benjamin Walcott, and Nick and Benjamin are both reps, not senators. So that's why I'm here. To discuss some summer activities that we'll meet about next week, which include a barbecue, World Cup events, community summer projects, possible intramurals over the summer, a pub takeover, and a possible town meeting with the grad students in the fall to find out what the real problems are. And about it.
Any progress on the Senate tiebreak, the Senate empty spots?
As of now, no.
Okay. I'll probably talk with you and Kristen about this later. All right, IFC? Actually, do we have a representative of the IFC here? Okay, James isn't present. I'll get his report from him later. Panel?
We just wrapped down with our last meetings last week, and then over the summer we're revving up for the incoming class and the incoming year. So that's pretty much everything that's happening.
Great. So thank you guys for coming out today and last week. We had a lot of appointments to get through, but now that everything's set up, when we come back in the fall, we'll be able to hit the ground running with our major project work. So enjoy your finals, have a good summer. I'm going to be getting in touch with each of you individually. To see what projects you want to work on, what ideas you're kind of passionate about, what committees you might want to join. So I'll be in touch over the summer, but in the meantime, have a good one. Good luck with everything. All right, meeting adjourned.